So now what I want to do is give you a demo about how to use the pelvic leveler. You can't, it's very simple. If you're anchoring your heel into the floor wherever you're using it, then you can't really do it wrong. If you start pressing like this, that's not how we drive. We don't drive like that. The idea behind the pelvic leveler is to mimic the activities of driving that your right lower kinetic chain from your top of your hip bone all the way to your toes, or more importantly, the ball of your foot, does when you're driving. You brake and you accelerate. You brake and you accelerate. So you're going to brake and accelerate. And the way I do that, or the way you do it, is you just simply, the foot plate goes directly over the ball of the foot, and it takes a learning curve to figure out where you are, but this is simply it. You're going to anchor the foot, and you're going to do repetitive pressing. This is plantar flexion when I go down, and dorsiflexion when I come up. That's not necessarily all that important, but that movement against a resistance works all the way through the connective IQ, all the way up into your hip. If you pay attention, you're going to feel work being done by either bracing, stabilizing, and assisting the movement into your hip flexors on the left, all the way up into where your ball and socket joint meet into your hip. And so it's huge. It's significant what this does in terms of raising that connective tissue IQ, just like the right's been doing ever since you started driving your car. So now I'm braking on the left, and I go back to the accelerator. I can lift, because you do that sometimes. I'm gonna hold it. I can be working at the computer. I'm gonna hold it there for a few seconds, because that's what we do. If you're on a long thoroughfare and you've got your gas pedal and there's no stop signs or stoplights, and there's no traffic in front of you, you're holding your gas pedal down. If I'm in traffic, I'm going to be holding the brake pedal down for a few minutes while the traffic light changes. So hold that. All you're doing is mimicking the activity that your right side does when you're driving your car on the left. And it's really remarkable. I recommend using the pelvic leveler barefooted, because you have more of a tactile connection to the device when you don't have a sock or a shoe on. You really feel it more. That's just the geek that I am. And you make more of a mind-body connection, mind-body device connection when you're barefooted. But you can use it with your shoes on. That's not a big deal. But the ideal would be to get to the point where you don't even think about what you're doing on the left, just like you do when you're driving your car. Your foot almost operates, your lower extremity almost operates independent of your brain based on what you're seeing. A ball runs out in front of you, or a dog or a cat or a deer, and you're automatically, it just happens. That's the IQ that I'm talking about. We've trained this whole kinetic chain to do the activity against braking and accelerating, the resistance of those two exercises that this side never really gets to do at all. And so I have to bring this IQ up. And when I do, the beauty of it is that I'm going to unwind the pelvis. I'm going to reduce the rotation of the pelvis and reduce the unleveling of the pelvis. And I'm going to strengthen the midfoot of my left foot, just like the right side's been getting ever since I started driving a car. And when I do that, I'm going to positively affect my gait, because it has an effect on the step off and the foot strike, and the amount of the foot's ability to absorb that. If I lose my arch on the left, I reduce the ability to absorb shock, because the arch is like a spring leaf on your car. It absorbs some of that shock when I strike the ground. And then in the step off, it's not as flat-footed, because I've restored that arch, and it's now off more of the ball of my foot, which translates into the use of my hip flexors. So lots of change happens. It's very subtle, and it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. But various people that have already tried it have already said, yeah, it's hard for me to put into words, but I can tell something's happening. But this is something that you're going to want to do for as long as you're driving your car, because every time you drive, you're maintaining or raising the IQ on the right. And we're going to raise, what our goal is to balance the IQ of the left to the right by using the pelvic leveler and the stretches that I showed you.